is a 5-minute intro. We're going to rotate. We're going to ask 7 questions, 3 minutes on those. There have been several questions from the audience. I have gone through those, and I plan to ask y'all a couple of those as well. And then again, there'll be 5 minutes at the end. I will ask that if you choose to rebut a comment that is being made, don't do it at that time. That will come to closing arguments. Also, in your closing comments, if there's something that you need to rebut there at the end, I'll allow you to do that, and you'll have 1 minute to do that as well. All right, Ryan Brooks, we're going to start with you, and feel free. Mr. Smith has asked for the podium. I'm going to allow him to do so. This microphone, they can go wherever they want to inside the building. And okay. And don't go behind the curtain either. I guess there are parameters. But feel free to come to the podium where you are, whatever you're comfortable with. And Ronnie Brooks, your intro.
Well, first I'd like to thank the Chamber and also ECD, Eddie and Katie for organizing this. This is a great occasion and a great venue. I think everybody's been here before, but we're really blessed to have such a nice place for us to have something like this. So we appreciate you doing that for us. I am your county mayor, and it's a very humbling experience for me. You know, about 6 years ago, you gave me that opportunity, and you know, I don't take that lightly. It comes with a big tag, a lot of responsibility, and a lot of it really that the general public doesn't understand what's involved. But you gave me that responsibility, and I'm very proud to do whatever I can to advance this county forward, and I feel like that I have. I'll give you just a little bit of background about myself. My wife, Diane McFarland Brooks, and I have 3 children that we've raised together. Christy, Carrie, who's not longer with us, and Mandy. And we have 5 grandchildren. And of course, that's a big part of my life, and she's a big part of my life. And she's been a lot of encouragement to me and dealt with a whole lot. Here's a whole lot. And of course, I'm blessed with the great parents. My mother, Bobby and Billy Brooks, were in business in McNair County for many years. And of course, I saw firsthand what they went through as business people and what responsibility it was to own the business, and what I had to deal with. What I saw them deal with made me understand that more. As an educator, I taught for 24 years, so I understand totally what goes involved with the school system and what challenges they have, what expenses involved in operating a county school system. So there's a lot of things that we don't understand how all these parts fit together. So we've got highways, we've got schools, and we've got county general, and all these things fall under one big umbrella. And I want to be able to continue to do the things that we've started. I can share that with you later and address some of the concerns that I know that you have out there. And hopefully I can explain those to you and clear those up for you. I appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Smith.
Hello, friends. My name is Larry Smith. I'm asking for your vote for McNair County Mayor this term. The reason I'm running for county mayor is sitting on the second row right there, my kids and grandkids. I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for them being here. I'm thankful for them supporting me during this quest. I'm also thankful for the Chamber and Independent Bill for putting this event on. And most of all, I'm thankful for you people for being here tonight and being involved in this and being as concerned as I am about our county and the direction our county is going. I've been in business for myself for 31 years. Very successful business, and I'm proud of what we've done. My brother and I started the business, and we moved it back to McNair County some years ago. I've also served as Director of Maintenance for the school system the last 3 years. In that capacity, we've accomplished a lot. We have scheduled maintenance now for our school buildings. We have scheduled maintenance on our HVAC equipment, and we saw great savings through better ways, better leadership, better avenues to accomplish things within our budget. list some items here tonight that, you know, it may be kind of an odd way to go about this, but I'm not a politician. I'm a business person. I'm new to this, and you also in respect of running for a county office like this. So anyway, the items on the list is, all these items I'm about to list directly affect jobs or growth in our county and show a pattern of why the taxpayers have lost leadership, lost trust in leadership in our county. That list begins with hospital. The next item is jobs. The next item is the county library here in Selma. The next item is landfill. The next item is school buildings, wheel tax, and county fire. When we think about the hospital, you know, we're all used to seeing it sit there, and it's gone now. It's been torn down. You know, I don't understand all the ins and outs of that, but I would certainly not been for that building being torn down. You know, I think we lost a great bargaining chip there with any other hospital that might want to come here. They offered to give that back to the county. You know, we didn't take it, you know, for whatever might be the reason. We turned around and bought the property back for $500,000. Now, we're in a distressed county for health care too, because we have no good emergency health care. We're in a distressed county for jobs, we're in a distressed county for health care, we're in a distressed county for county fire protection also. The ambulance calls have over doubled since the closure of the hospital and demolition of it. But the next issue is jobs. And the purpose of this is to establish a pattern of leadership that I think is going to have to be corrected before we can actually move Magnet County forward. We've heard a lot of great county commission candidates here that have a lot of great ideals. But before we can move forward with all these guys, with all these good ideals, we have got to have a leader in place that is willing to step up to the plate and not make this list of things happen. The next item is jobs. In 2014, I stood right here before you all and I told you we'd lost 530 jobs in the county in the 16, 18 months that Mr. Brooks been mayor. 2018, I stand before you and tell you that number is 1,510 jobs. That's averaging 250 jobs a year that we're losing in Magnet County. The next item is the library. There was a proposal to close the library. It said it would cost $300,000 to repair the library. The reason for that was they wanted to transfer that money and use it for centralized accounting. We saw that proposal come again the next year when the 4 cent property tax went on to take $85,000 of that and fund that position again. The end result of that was it would cost between $300,000 and $400,000 to fund that program to start with. So either of those two and the proposal, you know, would never have worked anyway because CTAS came in and said it cost between $300,000 and $400,000. The other side of that is, as director of maintenance, I talked to the school board and the director of schools about us taking our maintenance guy and repairing the library at a cost of about $48,000. I made that proposal to the county commission budget committee, with Mr. Brooks there, and you know, they kind of fell on deaf ears. They paid over $100,000 to renovate or repair the library. People ask you, well, how are you going to do or how are you going to change things? There is a perfect example of how we can change things with the right leadership in place. I also had a county commissioner call the director of schools and said that I needed to back off of that proposal, that I needed to stop what I was doing trying to save the county money. Folks, we need to all be working together in Magnet County to try to move this county together as a whole. If we can't do that, if we can't come together, if we can't use the resources we've got in this county, we got a real problem in our county. And that's exactly what I'm standing here and telling you today. Had a county commissioner call the director of schools and tell me to back off me trying to save the county $50,000.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Your 5 minutes is up. But you get the first question. I'm going to rotate these. Mr. Smith, you're up first. Now, keep in mind a lot of these questions you may have addressed in your intro remarks, but try not to be repetitive and give us some fresh information. You do have three minutes. What challenges you feel we face in the county, and how do you address them if you're elected?
Again, I think leadership is the hugest challenge, the largest challenge we face in Magnet County. We have got to have leadership that understands the problems that we have going on. We have a jobs situation in our county, whereas we've lost 1,510 jobs in the last 6 years. I understand the entire job report, not just percentage rate of unemployment. You have to study the entire jobs report. It's going to take someone that's willing to step out, stop doing the same thing we've been doing in order to solve the issue. But with the 1,510 jobs, what's happening is those people are falling off of they're losing their unemployment, they're going off of unemployment, and they don't have a job. What we're going to have to do in McNair County is we're going to have to reach out to those people in the way of workforce development and different things like that. But anyway, the end result is we're going to have to bring people together. We're going to have to work together as a whole. That means our county commissioners are going to have to be given the information that they need to make an informed decision about what's going on in the everyday world in McNair County. That also means that we're going to have to work with different avenues of the Board of Education through the CTE programs and different things in order to solve the problems we have in the county. Again, it's all about leadership. It's all about bringing all these people together in a unique way to change the direction that McNair County is going.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Brooks, you need to question again. You good to go?
I think so, Mark. I feel like right now the biggest concern on most everybody in this county right now is healthcare. Where are we going with it? What's going on? Well, I'm going to address that real quickly. We're in negotiations for emergency service center here. We're in negotiations for the health system to bring specialists to McNair County. We're moving the health department into a larger facility. We've got a new obstetrician coming in at some point. So there's efforts being made to make these things happen. That's on my mind. When we lost that hospital, that was the pinnacle of disappointment in my career. I had nothing I could do to keep them from closing that hospital. It came to us with a $3 million tag plus all the liability that ever happened with that building. Why would we take it? That's a free building, yeah, but look what the liability we had with it. So I compliment the county commission in going along with not funding or not taking the hospital. 8 health systems had looked at those facilities. None of them were interested in an inpatient facility. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to be very blunt. There will not be an inpatient hospital in McNair County. What we're going to have to do is basically reinvent what we're going to do. Obviously, an emergency health center is important. They can have, obviously, four rooms to assess people and keep them on campus there and then move them on to another place. That's what we're looking for. Because if we think about it, that's why we lost it to begin with. Because a lot of people were bypassing the hospital to go to either Alcorn County or going to Jackson. So, it was the lack of use, and I don't mean that, it just, we lost confidence in the emergency room. We lost confidence in the hospital. I'm not saying that that's, we did this, but that's what part of it, you lost confidence in it. So we want to get something in place that you'll have confidence in. And that's what the goal is. And time, real quickly, I'll address this at the very end, but I don't know where Mr. Smith got his figures. Right now, we've got 500 new jobs in McNair County. We've got growth here. We're working on industrial development constantly. 210 jobs are going to pay above $16 to $22 an hour. That's what we've got to have here. Better paying jobs. For industry, better paying jobs. I'll address that later.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Don't worry about your time. He'll give you a 30-second warning, and then the red sign, and then I come whack you in the head. Hair and all. Mr. Brooks, you're up, and this is kind of similar with just what you talked about. How we're going to address the emergency needs for our citizens.
Well, I hate to repeat, but that's basically what all of this is, and unfortunately I can't tell you a great deal at this point. Obviously, at some point it will come out. But there are negotiations going on to try to remedy the problem that we have. And I'm moving, we're looking right now with the hospital property. The health department is going to move into the old prime care building. I can tell you that much. And then the old health department is going to be used Right now, we're talking to a health system that's actually, that's be the specialty clinic. We have a system that's looking at an emergency center. Now, we just got to wait and see. We're talking with this, well, I can give you a whole lot more information than that. And of course, we've still got some nibbles on the property itself as far as a health center that will have multiple units in it, and like a health center, possibly a weight clinic, that type of thing is what we're looking at. So the property is going to be used, and I'm real quickly I'll tell you how that came about. The health department was needing a larger facility. They approached me and asked if we would be interested in. I approached them and made an offer on the Prime Care property, and they said, "We'll take that offer." And it said, "But now for an additional amount of money, you can have all of it, which is 12.9 acres and 2 other buildings." So right now, we've recouped half of our money already from the health system when they move in. They're going to refurbish it. It's going to open probably in this fall. And then we've got plans, as I said, for the other pieces of property.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Smith.
I disagree with Mr. Brooks. You know, we built a hospital in McNair County at one time. We could certainly build a hospital again if that's what McNair County wants to do. If that's what we choose to have in McNair County, if that's the direction we want to go, we can certainly do that. There is an avenue for freestanding ER. You know, I've heard several times about different issues that we're looking at, different things that may happen and so on like that. And believe me, I hope they do, but at the same time, I'm going to be realistic and say, if you elect me as your county mayor, we will have a freestanding ER. We will do what the people want. If the people want a hospital built in McNair County, that's exactly what we will try to do. So there's a USDA grant out there that is available to fund a freestanding ER, and there's absolutely no reason in this world why we cannot secure a grant. You know, we're in a distressed county for everything under the sun, and because we are in a distressed county for emergency health care, that means that we would more qualified than a lot of other counties around us. There's a move of the state wanting to move off of the distressed county for jobs and different things. So, you know, we would certainly qualify for that, and all the governor's war candidates are commenting about wanting to help rural West Tennessee, and they've commented to me about the job situation, they've commented about the health care, and they are concerned about McNair County. So, you know, I would be willing to try to do what we can to make that happen. And I'm not standing here just telling you that trying to be elected. I'm standing here telling you that because I care. You know, and going around talking to people out here, the voters of McNair County, the number one thing they're upset about is the hospital. They're upset about losing the hospital, and they want to see good emergency health care. I've always been a man of my word, and I promise you that we will try our utmost to get an ER, a freestanding ER established, and again, if that's what the people of the county want, we'll build another hospital. We've got all these county commissioners coming on, and, you know, certainly we need to sit down with them and see what direction they want to go. But we can make it happen if we all work together and come together. It's all about leadership, folks.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, we're going to start with you on this one. It's a twofold question. This is in regard to economic development. Are you in favor of securing additional properties for economic development in the future? And if so, how would you pay for them?
Yes, I'd be absolutely in favor of securing additional properties. It's a tool that needs to be put in the tool chest of the Economic Development Board in this county. As one of the county commissioners said earlier, you can't send them out to do a job without the proper tools. It's not a choice, it's something we're going to have to do. But, you know, before we do that, we're going to have to get ready for growth. But that's another story on down the line here. And how, you know, I've heard that McNair County is broke. McNair County is not broke, folks. We have resources available. We have, there's a question about the EDC. How much money does EDC have to contribute to, you know, land purchase? You know, I don't know that figure exactly, but the EDC would certainly contribute to that. You know, we have other items in the revenue line item, like, for instance, the insurance, medical insurance for the employees county. You know, that to me, just looking at the budget, is $150,000 out of line. So if we save $150,000 there, then the solar farms is another issue on revenue, that would generate revenue, I think. The state says that we should be collecting $127,100 on the solar farms with the personal property tax that would be generated from that. Well, we're only collecting $1,000 on the first one, $1,000 on the second one, and $2,500 on the third one, and $5,000 on the fourth one. So that's a total of $9,500 we're collecting on the solar farms. So, we need to ask a lot of questions about how do we get to that point, and why are we not collecting what we should? In my business, I have to pay personal property tax on all the equipment in my building. There's also a matrix out there, an outline for job creation and so on, and I have a copy of it here if anybody wants to see it, but the solar farms don't meet the matrix. So who's making those decisions that cost McNair County $100,000 plus there? So, we need to look at all those things. The money could be generated to do anything we want to do in McNair County. But again, it's all about leadership. It's all about coming together with a business sense and putting a package together that'll work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Brooks, do you need me to restate that? We're talking about economic development, we're talking about buying property, and we're talking about how to pay for it.
Well, we've got a good and bad problem in McNair County right now. We're as far as viable a property to recruit industry, we don't. Not any large properties. Now, we've got one building that's in an industrial park up here in Silmer that doesn't fit the size that you have to recruit larger industry. So it's a good and bad thing. We've got every building is occupied. Now at Adamsville, there's 2 buildings, and of course it's a certified site, and they're constantly getting information or bids on property and development over in Adamsville. So we have a good problem, but the bottom line is we don't have any property that we can offer to a larger industry. Now here's the TVA about 3 years ago looked at several properties that we presented to them. TVA is one of our main funding to help us to finance any kind of industrial property. And Pickwick Electric is another big help. Obviously, our ACD office and Industrial Development Board are part of that puzzle too. So we all got together and found several pieces of property that we thought would be viable properties in Selma, and they came up with one out of all of those, and that's the one that we're going to try to get. And we've been trying to negotiate to get that property. Of course, you can imagine how much per acre we're looking at. So it's going to take an investment from multiple people, multiple units, like our TVA, Pickwick Electric, Industrial Development Board, and the county. And right now, that's a main revenue is a main concern. Mr. Smith must have not looked at that budget very well, because there's not anything in there that we've got county officials who work hard to stay within their budget, and it's a lean budget. And they do the best that they can, and I feel very confident that hopefully with this younger generation that's coming up in our county commission, they'll realize that funding is a main concern for the county. Okay, I'm going to give this quick analogy. We're talking about money. All right, if you don't have a cost of living raise, do you meet your mortgage and your payments on your mortgage and repairs on your property? If you own a house, you got a mortgage, you got to pay it. Something's going to go wrong. You're going to have the money to do that. You got to have a cost of living raise. Let's look at the county. The county hasn't had a cost of living raise until this 3 cents that we raised last year in 12 years. We've been paying the same amount that we paid 12 years ago for gas. Gas has gone up, ladies and gentlemen. We buy fuel for all the county vehicles. All the insurance has gone up. There's many things that we have to deal with that go up. So there's a lot of factors that we don't take into account about our budget.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. And speaking of jobs, kind of similar, we're going to let you go first here on this one. What can we do to bring more jobs to the county? And how can we prepare our citizens to fill those jobs?
We work very closely, obviously, with Industrial Development Board, obviously, and Eddie Crittenden, who is our Economic Development Director. I will go out on a limb, but there's not a day goes by that there's not some kind of RFP released from the state that we're trying to fill. So it's not that we're not getting nibbles on property. The problem is we don't have it to offer. So those things are in place for industrial growth. And of course, we forget about the existing industries. 4 years ago, I made this comment. I said, we've got to support all of our local industries because they made the choice to be here. If we give them any opportunity to expand, we need to let them do it. And that's what's happening. And then there's possibilities of other expansions. So we need to concentrate on those, then try to build, obviously, get property is the next thing. We've got to get that done. And then as far as workforce development, I've talked with Mr. Martin. I've got some ideas as far as trying to get a better understanding of how we can use the resources that we have just around us, like the TCAT in the TCAT system, and do a partnership with them, with UT Martin, to build a better workforce. And that's our goal. And get these kids at an early age, get them in, get the industries to come into the schools, mentor to them and say, here's what we've got here. GE hires engineers. We want you to be an engineer and work in our system. So at least let it, train a workforce to come up. So of course, we got a workforce development in place and with help of Eddie. So we're working in the right direction on that.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
We absolutely have to work with our educational partners. That means the CTE program we have in our high school. That means TCAT, Crump. That means Jackson State. That means whoever we have that would be an education partner. First of all, we need to analyze the gaps that we have. As I was talking about a while ago, we need to understand what's going on with jobs, why our job numbers keep going down. That's the first thing we have to understand. We need to work with higher education. We need to invest in job training. And we need to realize the fact that 80% of the jobs in a rural county like ours is going to be created through existing business that we have. We have a roadmap for that right here in our county. And if I'm elected county mayor, I would encourage that we really reach out to those people. And myself, I would be inclined to go out and visit with each one of them and have a conversation about what we can do and how we can better serve them through the county mayor's office. And Mr. Brooks alluded to the question a while ago about when we're on jobs here, where I got my figures. If you do the math from 2012 to 2018, which is 6 years, you end up, you can go to the State Department level website that I indicated in my last ad in both papers. I encourage you to go to that website. You can find those numbers in the archives, State Department level website. You do the math on it, we lost 1,510 jobs in the last 6 years. Plain and simple, cut and dried, simple math. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Question number 5, and Mr. Smith, we're going to start with you on this one. How can we both balance our budget and bring more revenue to the county?
Well, again, I think from business background and what I saw in the budget, there is some avenues that we can change. Everybody has an opinion and everybody's subject to one. But there is items in the budget that can be changed, moved, and so on like that. But, I think we need to have a study from CTAS. We need to have a revenue profile, first of all, and get an idea about where they think we're at and where we're really at. What I think really doesn't matter. It's what we can do through CTAS that does matter. But anyway, I think by being more physically responsible, exactly what I've done in the job I'm in as director of maintenance for the school system. Everybody wants to know how we've been able to do what we've done for the schools. That's exactly how we've been able to do it. We've been able to do it by spending more physically responsible. They haven't given me any more money. The only thing that they give me any more money to do is hire a couple more individuals, which I really appreciate, Ricky. Thank you. But anyway, we've learned, or I've learned ways in business to save money, and we could go through all those different things, but It's all about what you say, folks. It's all about, who's leading the charge. It's all about who's looking at the revenue and expenditures and so on like that, and spending their money wisely. It's all about being physically responsible with what you have.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Brooks, you need a refresher on that one?
Yes.
You're going to have to tell us how to balance our budget and bring more revenue to the county.
Well, as I said earlier, the county officials present their budgets to the budget committee. And obviously they go through and they look and they discuss as to what things that they need, that they absolutely, those people have to operate their offices. And I assure you, and there's some in this room, that they're very good stewards of your tax dollars. There's no fluff. A lot of them turn money back in actually at the end of the year. They don't spend their entire budget. So to me, that's good management on their part. So I feel very confident that we're doing what we can to bring a good, solid, but we did have a balanced budget this time. Obviously, it wasn't approved, but there was a budget presented and it was balanced. And last year's budget was balanced. Now, obviously, a lot of the ways that we're concerned about is how we have to do that. Of course, I'm not going to go into this matrix of how we do that either, but it is adjusted by pennies. How much a penny it makes in your county property tax is how we determine how we can move those pennies around. And if we're a good example would be debt service. If debt service we're fixing to retire debt, obviously we can have that opportunity to move pennies away from that to balance the budget. It's not a good practice, but it can be done. We're freeing up money, actually, of debt that we're retiring. So that can work. I feel very confident we're doing as best as we can. I've got a poster on my wall that says, from Teddy Roosevelt, that says, do the best with what you can where you are. And I feel like that we've done that.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
We're getting older. But I understand why these younger people don't want to get involved, because if you don't have adequate equipment where you're going out and risking your life to protect somebody or help them, and you've got a family at home, why would you want to go into a burning house if you have faulty equipment? So that, all of this all kind of ties together. So we've got to be able to recruit more firemen, obviously, but we've got to give them the tools to work with. And we're looking at ways to sustain the fire department, because that's always been an issue. Sustaining it is costly. We've got to come up with a budget actually that's going to be the comparable that we can support it each year to year to make it effective. And of course, IRSO ratings, everybody understand what that is? Those of you who live out in the county, I'm sure you do. If you've got a 9 rating in your community, that makes a huge impact on your insurance premium.
I joined the county fire department in 1987, so I know a little bit about the county fire department, but having said that, the reason that Houston Thrasher started this in 1987 was we were almost uninsurable in our county. We're almost at that point again, folks. We're almost to a 10 ISO rating, in which most insurance companies won't insure you. The thing about this is, if we lower the ISO rating from a 9 to a 7, 9 to a 6, whatever, it'll save most county residents about $300 a year. To me, it would be a good investment for us to find the money to make this happen. The problem I've got with this is, he said 1.5 years there. Everybody can see the date on that, I think. Everybody can see the date on this from 2014. You won't talk to me too.
You actually asked him a question.
When we met here in 2014, when I ran against Mr. Brooks in 2014, we talked about county fire. We talked about exactly what we're standing here talking about again today. It wasn't 1.5 years ago, it was 4 years ago, folks. Most everything that's in this book, in this binder that we talked about last time I stood here, is the same issue today. Hadn't changed, other than maybe worse. County fire, there's no excuse for it to be a 9 in our county. Again, we talked about this 4 years ago. We've had time, even if we put $50,000 a year out of the county park budget into it, you know, we've had time to generate money to make this happen. But in answer to your question, you know, we're going to build things from the ground up, more or less, because as we've had people join our fire department, they come back in 2 months and they said, we can't do this, we've got families. And Mr. Brooks alluded to that a while ago. You know, people's not going to take a chance on their lives, you know, and take a chance on not being able to support their families. We're asking county firemen to go out and do exactly what we'd ask Guy Buck's deputies to do without a gun. That's exactly what we're asking them to do, folks, and it's wrong. What's going to happen is, since the county knows about this, we've known about this again for 4 years. It's right here in this book. We talked about it last time I stood on this stage with him. What's going to happen when a fireman gets hurt because he's going out unprotected? Your general liability insurance isn't going to be worth the paper it's written on. The county's going to be held responsible. Guys, it's about leadership. It's about addressing the needs of this county. We have got to find ways to make this happen through grants or whatever's got to be done. It's an absolute have to.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, you want to go first on this one? This is the last of the independent appeal staff questions. What are your plans to align all 10 municipalities together to develop a plan for the future of McNairy County?
As I said, the whole issue here for me during this election is it's about one word. It comes down to one word: leadership. It comes down to putting someone in place that has the ability, has the drive, has the stamina, has the want to move this county forward. What I would do with each incorporated town is I would try to set up meetings with them. Of course, you're going to have to get the participation from all the city mayors before, you know, I can't stand here and say or speak for them because they're all elected officials too. But I would try my best to set up meetings, monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, ever how they wanted to establish that, so we could sit down and share. You know, they may be doing something that will work well for McNairy County. We're not going to know that if we're not having a conversation with them. But we absolutely have to sit down and discuss the problems that's going on in our county so that everybody has a clear understanding of what direction we need to go to try to move forward. There may be something that the county can do to help with issues in there. Well, I'll give you an example: Bethel Springs. I've been asked about the water problem in Bethel Springs. What can the county mayor's office do about that? Well, the short answer is probably nothing. But the real answer is those folks live in McNairy County too. If we can use the resources of the county mayor's office to try to make the issue better for their water problem that they've got in Bethel Springs, where their water bill is some of them $300 a month, then we need to try our best to do that. That's the kind of mayor that I want to be. I want to address those hard issues like that need to be addressed, even if it's an incorporated town. Those folks are in the county also, and they're being left out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Brooks, you want a refresher on that one? We're talking, we've got 10 towns, and how you're going to rally the troops for the future of the county.
Well, yes, and of course, all of them are, you know, are suffering from financial issues, just every county does. Every municipality is going to have an issue with funding. And when you have 10 municipalities in the county, by the time you divide up the sales tax, it does get kind of tight. So that's we do reach out to them. I think that's a misunderstanding, because we do have resources. We give our eligibility for a CDGB grants to communities for development. You know, all of these things that we're talking about does deal with finance. You know, if you get a grant, that's good, but always there is some match to that. So those are things you got to take into consideration. You know, we can throw out, well, we can get a grant for it. Well, we got to also think about how we're going to pay our match to that grant. All of them have a certain amount of money. But we do reach out to our communities, and if they come to us, City of Addisville got their sewer system, the lagoon system redone over the last 3 years using our eligibility. That doesn't cost us, but they're able to give them opportunities to get more grants.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. I want to thank everybody for submitting a lot of good questions from the audience. Most of the questions have already been addressed. So thank you, the newspaper staff and our community are thinking alike. There's a couple of good ones here I'm going to throw out there. And the rotation, Mr. Brooks, even though the county budget has not been approved, do you still intend to keep the raises for the county employees?
Well, I'm going to refer to what Sheriff Buck said earlier. The highest paid county employee, right now, retired 2 years ago, 30-year service, $27,000 for working for the county. So our salaries are not real good. Okay? A 3% raise actually cost the county about $27,000 to give them a 3% raise. Now, in the scope of the shortage on some of our other of our shortfall, that's not much. And what we're going to wind up having to do to our county employees is going to hit them with an insurance increase. Not a large one, but it's going to be an increase in insurance. So, you know, we've got to give them something. And I tell you, and I'm saying this right now in front of, there may be some budget committee people out here. We've got to pay our employees because that's what make this county work. The officials, that's good, but the ones who are doing all the work and taking care of all the problems are in all these offices and on the roads and in fire departments. So we need to really think about what we do and how we can retain our employees. The sheriff loses them. You know, he'll train one officer and then they'll stay with him 6 months and then they'll go to another county where they're paying them better. So those things have got to be addressed, and I think the salary increase for employees is important.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Smith?
From being in business, I don't have any problem giving employees raises. I do think that we need to give raises across the board. I don't think we need to single out any particular office and give a 15% raise or whatever the difference or inequity may be. There is inequity in the raises. I would not be for giving inequities in raises. I would be for being fair with people. I understand that our county employees, you know, are not paid what they probably should be or what they could make in other areas. But we go right back to what this whole discussion has been about. Really, the heart of this discussion is about leadership, it's about jobs, it's about understanding the driving force behind revenue. That's jobs, folks. We've got to get real about jobs in McNairy County to create or generate revenue. I'd like nothing more than when Guy Buck comes, he has a car wreck or whatever the situation might be, he comes to the county mayor's office, we have the money to help him do whatever has to be done. That's exactly the position that we need to be in. That's exactly the position that I want to move McNairy County toward. But before we can do that, excuse me, as you've heard Mr. Brooks' discussion about the jobs report, we've got to have a county mayor that understands the jobs report. We've got to have a county mayor that understands where we're at with jobs. We've got to have a county mayor that understands what we're going to do and how we're going to try to fix the job situation in this county. So we can't fix a problem until we understand the problem. The percentage of unemployment is not the driving force behind the job. Sure, that looks good, that sounds good, but if you have 300 people this month that move off of unemployment and they don't have a job, they don't move back over the job side next month, your percentage drops. But then you've got 300 more people and add to that 250 every year that I was talking about earlier. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And Mr. Smith, were you going to go first on this one? I got a detailed message from a person in the audience, and I'm going to bottom line it to you. I'm not sure what the mayor's office could do about this. But maybe you can tell us what you can or cannot do. And that is to give me more retail outlets in the county and more recreation opportunities for our youth.
Again, we're back to the same problem we've got again, folks. We've got to generate revenue, and in order to do that, we're going to have to create jobs in our county. You know, there's grants out there for a lot of different issues. Sybil answers, I don't know if she's still here or not, but Sybil's been very good at getting grants. Anthony Carr's got over $15 million for the county fire departments. That's why I have so much trouble with understanding why we're at the point we're at with the county fire departments. City of Selma qualified, we should qualify. But having said that, there's grant money available out there to help with things for our youth to do, and I understand what they're saying. Poll recently polled 75% of the young people, 25 years of age or younger, were more interested in living in a fun city than they were having a good job. So, I understand what their question is, and I understand what they're wanting to do, but we've got to get real about jobs, folks. We've got to get ready to move this thing forward.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Jobs, once you build if you get a large industry in here, okay, that would be the only way that you would see any kind of impact financially in the county. And most of the time, that's going to take at least 4 or 5 years for a larger industry to build up, just like we've just done with this expansion. We're not going to see that effect until they're investing back in the community. They're spending money. When they spend money back in the county, then we can develop and we can reach out and get retail. It's not for the lack of trying.